Hi, how's it going? So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you step-by-step instruction on how to paint this gorgeous turquoise daisy. This is not my design. This is the design of my friend, Shannon McLean. Shannon is a dear friend. She is an amazing artist, and she's just a wonderful human being. Shannon has breast cancer. She has what's called metastatic breast cancer, or stage 4 breast cancer. Her and I decided that I was going to auction off this painting to the highest bidder, with 100% of the proceeds going to a very special organization to her by the name of Metavivor. Now, Shannon lives in New York and I'm here in Cincinnati, but we were able to cross paths recently, and I've got a short clip to show you where Shannon explains a little bit more about Metavivor and why it's important that we donate to them. So I'll show you that now. Okay, Shannon, so why is it important to you that we donate to Metavivor?
Well, for one, I am a metastatic breast cancer patient, and so it's important to me because Metavivor gives a lot of support and help to people with metastatic breast cancer. For two, every dollar, every donation, every fundraiser that goes to Metavivor, they give straight to research for a cure for stage 4. And what they believe is that if you cure stage 4, then you cure all of the stages, meaning all of the cancers. And so that's a very important thing, and I believe that, they believe that, so it would be awesome. And so I believe that, you know, with my design and Lydia's awesome artistry, that if we, you know, put this painting up for bids and get some good money, we could give it to Metavivor and they could make some money and
Do some good research.
do some good research
For some good people.
for some good people like me.
That's right.
And everybody else with MBC, because it would be great, and we need to cure it for stage 4 because then everybody gets cured.
That's
it
right.
makes total sense.
Yep, it really does. And so 100% of the proceeds of this painting going to go to Metavivor. And I'm going to put a link in this video's description below how you can bid on this painting. So let's get it up there, guys.
Yay! I love you.
I love you too.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that is what we are doing today. So here it is. This is what we are going to paint today. So if you're ready to get started, let's go. Okay, now this is a picture of Shannon's original painting. You have to bear with me here. This is my first attempt at somebody else's design other than my own for a tutorial. All right, we're starting with a 12 by 12 canvas. And we're using Rock Candy Blue. It's a multi-surface satin paint by Martha Stewart, followed by Mermaid Teal. And the Mermaid Teal is just going to go on the edges. And you want to kind of do like an ombre fade, if you would. You just want to really touch the edges and the corners with the straight Mermaid Teal, and then kind of just slowly move your brush in towards the center. Now don't roll your brush across the center, the middle of the center. You want to just fade it up a little bit towards the center. And now this is Peacock Feather, and we're just going to touch a little bit on each of the corners. So let's just kind of fade that into the green there, the Mermaid Teal. And there we go. And you want to really let that dry very good before you attempt to draw on any guidelines. Now this, I'm using my 12 slice stencil. This will be new to my Etsy shop. I will put a link in this video's description below on how to find this stencil in my shop. And I just take a pencil and just draw each of the guidelines there and fill it in. Nothing real dark, just something that you can erase later. I was using a 9-inch, which I think a 12-inch would have worked just perfectly for this. So I will be selling the 12-inch stencils. So there you can see the light guidelines. All right, the first paint here is called Espresso. It's a multi-surface paint from Craftsmart, and it's metallic, and it is absolutely beautiful. I love the way it sparkles. You will see up close here in a little bit. It's brilliant. Now this is a wooden dowel. It's about 1 inch in diameter, and that is what I use for my center dot. And I'm going to add a few of those to my Etsy shop as well. So many people ask where they can find those, so you will be able to find them in my shop. Alright, I'm swirling out the center dot. Now you don't have to do that, that's just personal preference. I wanted to swirl it out, make it a little bit flatter, so I used a nail stylus. Alright, the next color here is called Cocoa Bean, and you just want to put a dot right on each of the 12 lines around that center dot, and you want to get as close to the center dot as you can without touching it. And then you're just going to go ahead and put a dot right in between each of those. So you're going to have a total of 24 dots around the center dot. And here I'm using my largest nail stylus, which is a size 5. There, that's 24. So I was just going to show you how to get those annoying plastic wrappers off your bottles. If you just continue to twist it like you're closing it, and you pull, it'll come right off for you. So these two colors will be blended together. It's Cafe au Lait and Cocoa Bean, and that will be for the next row. Okay, so just get them good mixed up. And then you're just going to be putting a dot right in between on the outside edge of each set of dots all the way around in that first row there. So you're making a whole second row, and you're staggering the second row from the first row. So they're not directly on top of the previous row. They're just to the side. And you're just going to do that all the way around. And you want to keep them close, tight in, if you can, the best that you can, without running them together. Look at how that sparkles. Oh, that paint, I love it. Okay, so for the next row, it is going to be the straight Cafe au Lait is the color of paint. It's a Craftsmart paint. It's a multi-surface premium satin acrylic paint. And we're just going to be doing the same thing that we just now did with the previous row. And you can see the blue tool that I'm using. Now I'm skipping a dot in between those just to make sure I have enough room to get another row in. And now that I've done every other dot, I'm going to go ahead and put another dot in between each of those. So we're still doing the same process. It's really however you prefer to do it. I just do it for spacing reasons. Okay, now we're going to blend these two colors here. They're going to be blended together, Cafe au Lait and Spanish Tile. And that will be our next row of dots. So you just want to make sure you get them mixed real good. And then you're ready for your next row. Now we're still hugging tight again. I go ahead and make a crisscross top bottom side to side dot, and then I go ahead and fill it in. So I'm going to go every other dot, and then I'll fill it in again and put a dot right in between each of those. The next paint I used, Spanish Tile. It was just the straight color. I'm just trying to show you how thick this one particularly was. They don't normally come that thick. They should be all the same consistency, but even within the same brands, they can have inconsistencies. So here, this row, I'm giving a little bit more space. And there is some peach paint, which I'm blending in with the Spanish Tile. that will be for the next row. Again, leaving a little bit more space. And we'll see why later. And you can see the tools that I'm using because they are color coded. And now I'm going to go with just the straight peach for the next row. And this is the largest crochet hook that I have. And I'm just going to be putting a dot on each of the 12 lines. So now we've got our center and we're going to start working on our petals here. Well, this will be the base. And this paint was, see, a little thin, so I kind of had to dip it, dot it, and then dip it again and redot each one just to get a nice consistent circle. Alright, now I'm using my number 2 nail stylus dotting tool, which is a pretty small one. And I'm just going to be putting a dot with the espresso paint right in between the 3rd and 4th rows. So right in between each dot there, all the way around. And then after that, I'm going to jump up to my size 5 nail stylus, and I'm going to put a dot right in between the next row using the same espresso. And then for the very last row of the center, I'm jumping up to my very smallest wooden dowel. And I'm just going to put a dot right in between each of those dots. So just take a minute. If you need to pause the video, you're just going to put dots right in between each of the rows there. Alright, now we're going to start shaping our petals. So you're going to be working hugging around the previous peach dot there. We're switching to Cocoa Bean Craft Smart Paint. And you really want to let your guidelines do the work here. So just kind of follow straight down that guideline and put a dot right on the outer edge, right in the center of each of those peach dots there. So just kind of walk your tool in and put a dot right in the center all the way around. Alright, so once you've got all those done, you're going to be walking the dots down and around that peach dot. And you really want to hug to the dot. And by doing that, it just helps your petals stay nice and tight and shaped the way you are wanting them. So just kind of hug around that peach dot and dot all the way down. So dip your tool once and then dot all the way down one side and then re-dip your tool and dot down the other side. And just take your time. Speed is not a factor here. We are not trying to be fast. We're just trying to be slow and really enjoy the journey here. Alright, so we've got the start of our petals now. For the next color, we're going to blend Cocoa Bean and Cafe au Lait. And the same thing, you're just going to go up in size for your first dot there. And just let your guidelines walk you down in and put a dot right on top of the largest dot. And then we're going to walk down the sides again. So I'm using a smaller tool. I'm going to put a dot right to either side of that largest dot there. And then I'll use a nail stylus and walk it all the way down. Now I'm using my largest nail stylus for the rest of the walking it all the way down. So you just dip it and then dot all the way down, and then redip, and then do your other side. And you just kind of want to hug right to the last row. Alright, jumping to straight cafe au lait now for the next row. It doesn't have to be the same exact number on each side. I just kind of go with what feels like it would fit without looking too crowded. And then just space it out as best as you can. And now you can start to see these petals really starting to take shape. Alright, for our next color blend, it's going to be Cafe au lait and Spanish tile. And just jumping up in size as we go. Going to do the same process. You want to get a smaller dot next to those, with a smaller dot next to those, and then walk them on down. And now you can see how thick this paint was. It's with that Spanish tile, which was running thick for whatever reason for the bottle that I picked up. But you can tell with the dots here. Alright, now you obviously can't walk all the way down, so I just kind of stop where I hit the other previous little bridge. The bridge of dots, I call them little bridges. Alright, there we go. There's the overall look of it right now. And moving on with a larger dot. Now this is the straight Spanish tile color, and I've got it in a container because I wanted to thin it out a little bit, so I used a gloss medium, and I think I even had to use a little bit of water just to get it to the consistency where I wanted it. So your dots are just descending in size, so just walk it all the way down as far as it'll go, using smaller and smaller tools as you go. And I find these little containers to be great, very convenient for when you need to mix up quite a bit of paint. It doesn't necessarily fit in a palette. You can find these little containers at, I think the Dollar Tree has some, Michael's craft stores like that, Hobby Lobby. You can pick up some, usually in like an 8 or 10 pack. They are nice to have around. They have a lid. It keeps your paint from drying out. Pretty perfect for blending colors in. And you just want to walk them on down as far as you can get them, and then just stop at the next little bridge of dots there. I call it a little bridge. Okay, so this paint here is, it's a Spanish tile and peach mixture. And it's pretty much the same steps here, so I'm going to skip through for you. Okay, and then for this last row here, I'm going to use my largest crochet hook, and we're going to use the just straight peach paint. And then we'll be done with the petals and moving on. Okay, now that we are done with the petals, we are going to work in between the petals. So going back to the cocoa bean paint, going with the largest dotting tool, I'm going to put a dot right in between each of the petals. Okay, so I'm using that last guideline there as a guide for placement for these dots here. So basically, the line is the center mark for the dot. So just place your tool right on that line. And that's where we're going to put those. Okay, now we're going to walk some peach dots around the cocoa dots. So we're just going to start in the center on the outer edge there and walk some dots down one way, just right about to that line, which is right about the center mark. And then you're going to redip your tool and then walk the dots down the other way. And then I went ahead and we're kind of working backwards with the colors here. And then the next row of dots that you're going to walk around it will be the mixture of the peach and the Spanish tile, followed by just the straight Spanish tile. And now you're ascending in size. So just a little bit larger each row. Just like we were doing with the petals. Okay, so now you remember how we left a little bit of a space on the last two rings there in the center? Well, I'm going to fill in some of that space with some of the metallic espresso. So I'm just going to put a dot right underneath each of the very outer row of dots. So just going to put one right underneath each one of those on the outer ring, and then working our way back into the next ring there, I'm just going to do the same process and stick one underneath each of those, and that just kind of fills in those gaps and it gives it some extra shimmer and shine. Okay, now to me this is one of the most important steps. This is called Blue Sky, and it's Craft Smart paint again, and this is going to be a little separator for each of the petals. So it's going to be right down at the base of the petals. Grab your largest nail stylus dotting tool, which I actually later on went back and made them a little bit larger. I think I started with the smallest wooden dowel that I have, followed by this same nail stylus, but I wanted the dots to be just a little bit bigger. But what I'm doing here is just going to put a dot right in between each of the petals. If you go over top of some dots, that's perfectly fine. This step is so important. It just really gives some beautiful color pop, and it really gives the perfect divide and separation of the petals. It breaks it up for the eye, and it's really a very nice touch. Alright, I'm walking some more cocoa bean down through the middle of the petal. So just start at the large cocoa bean dot and right in the center, walk some dots right down in between, and you can stop right where you get to the petals. Alright, get out your fine little tiny dotting tools and dot a few dots up and around that large cocoa dot. We're still staying with the same cocoa paint. Just dot up one side and then redip your tool and dot up the other side. Alright, and now we're going to put a dot right on the end of those with the metallic espresso color. Right about the halfway mark of that large cocoa bean dot. Alrighty, it is top dot time. We are going to put a dot right in the center of the cocoa bean dots. So now we don't want to cover the whole entire dot. We just want to cover to where you can see a little ring of the original cocoa bean color underneath this espresso paint. And there, zooming out, you can see this is really coming together now. This paint is called Teal, and it's a Craft Smart paint. And we're going to be doing some top dots again on the center two rows And we're just going to leave a little ring of the previous dot visible. So you just want to put a smaller dot of this teal paint right in the middle of each one of those dots. Okay, so for the next row, we're going to mix some of this Mediterranean color in with the teal that we just used, and that will be the top dots for our next ring of dots here in the center of the painting here. So you just want to make sure you mix your color real good. Okay, for the next row, it will be just the straight Mediterranean paint. And for the next row, we are going to mix the Mediterranean paint with a color that is called Native Turquoise. So you just want to mix those up real good, and that will be. And for the last row, we're going with just the straight Native Turquoise color. Alright, now this is called Rose Gold, and it's a Craftsmart multi-surface premium glitter paint. And we're just going to be putting one top dot on each of the larger peach dots that we've got there. Now, I did notice that these did need almost double dotted. And then Shannon confirmed that yes, she absolutely did stick a big glob on there just to get the right effect that you're looking for here with this glitter paint. Alright, now we're going to top dot the outer rows of the little small dots in between the petals with this Native Turquoise glitter paint. So we dotted the largest of the middle circle, and now we're going to dot the one right underneath it. And here I'm just kind of fast forwarding through this here, but you just want to top dot all of those little dots. You can skip the step if you want to, but I think it was a very nice overall effect. Okay, this is the last step here. We're going to be dotting all of the extra space around this beautiful flower. So here we're using that same mermaid teal, and we're going to use the peacock feather also. And we're just going to be filling in that space. So grab your larger tool and then just go ahead and dot around on the edges there. Now there's no right or wrong way to do this. You just kind of want to fill in that space. So I'd like to use the larger tools and then work my way down to get a smaller tool. And then again, just dot around, and then eventually you'll only be able to fit a smaller tool. And then you just keep on going just like that. So just kind of fit them in random here. I'll speed this up for you. All right, now I'm going to switch colors because I know I want to leave some room for the larger dots of the blue, so I'm just going to stop there. I can always come back and pick that up. As a matter of fact, I do come back and pick that up. But right now I'm switching over to the peacock feather, and I'm going to get the big tool out again. Start with the larger tools, and then just dot around. Now you're working your way in. You don't want to dot in with the green too much. You kind of want to just dot on its own, closer to the flower. And then you can slowly incorporate some small dots in throughout the beginning of the green there, and then leave the outer edges just straight green. So it's like a fade, just like the fade of the paint that we did there. I hope that makes sense, and I'm going to go ahead and speed through this for you. Okay, so I'm really just trying to fill in the space here. So whatever fits, that's what goes there. You just dot all around. You can just incorporate a couple of the blues in with the greens right there. And other than that, you'll have green, and then blue and green, and then blue. Here it is one more time. You know, this really hits close to home for me. My grandmother had breast cancer as well. So this was really a no-brainer for me to donate 100% of the proceeds that we get for this painting and give them to Metavivor towards breast cancer research, because it is so important. And I thank you guys so much for watching. All I ask that you please share this video. If you aren't interested in bidding yourself, please share the video with your friends and your family, and hopefully they will continue to share this video and we can get some good money towards breast cancer research. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.